Grab your coffee, mama. It's time for coffee, clients, and nap time. I'm Sarah Marie, and this is your guide to building a business that works for you and your family. Here, we'll dive into creating a thriving business that lets you be the hands-on parent you want while designing the life you've always dreamed of. So if you're ready to balance business success with family life and make it all work in a way that feels right for you, then let's dive in. Hey mamas, and welcome back to Coffee, Clients, and Nap Time. I'm Sarah Marie, and yes, I mean it when I say welcome back to you, and honestly, to me too. Because I've been gone for maybe just over a month with no episodes, complete radio silence. And if you've been wondering what happened, I'm going to tell you. But first, I want to say I currently have 2 incredible guest episodes sitting fully recorded, ready to edit, and almost ready to go. That's 2 guests who gave up their time generously to come on my podcast. And they've been sitting there, waiting, while life got a little full and something had to give. And I feel a little guilty about that, like genuinely guilty, but not in a spiral wallow in it kind of way. In a I care about this and it really matters to me kind of way. Because it does. This podcast matters to me. My guests matter to me. And you, my listeners, you matter to me. But here's what happened. I had 2 big conferences that were almost back to back. I had a season of very significant client work. And I had family priorities that really needed my full attention. And when you're running a business as a mum with a defined amount of time and energy, sometimes things have to slide. Not because they don't matter, but because other things mattered more in that very moment. And that's exactly what today's episode is about. Because what I've just described, that's the glass and rubber ball theory in action. And if you've never heard of it, I think it's going to change how you think about capacity and priorities in both your business and your life. So let's get into it. The glass and rubber ball theory, which is sometimes called the glass and rubber ball framework, is a concept that's been floating around leadership and life design circles for a while. Look, you might have seen versions of it attributed to various people, and I honestly don't know where it came from first. But the core idea is simple, and it's one of the most useful mental frameworks I have ever come across. Here's the idea. Life is like juggling a set of balls. Each ball represents something you're responsible for or committed to, such as your family, your health, your business, your relationships, your finances, your personal commitments, just everything that you hold. Now, some of those balls are made of glass, and some of them are made of rubber. The glass balls are the ones that, if you drop them, they will shatter. They will crack. The damage is real, and it's potentially permanent. You can't just pick them back up and keep on going as if nothing happened. The rubber balls, though, are the ones that if you drop them, they'll bounce. They might roll a little bit. They might go somewhere unexpected, but they won't shatter. You can pick them back up. Things can be repaired and you can keep going. And the key insight to the theory is that when you're overwhelmed, when capacity is stretched, when you just can't keep everything in the air anymore, you need to know which balls are glass and which are rubber. Because if you have to drop something, you want to drop a rubber one, not a glass one. It sounds simple, but in practice, most of us don't think about it this way. We treat every single ball that we're holding as if it's glass. Every commitment, every project, every responsibility feels equally fragile, or equally as important, or even equally catastrophic if it's dropped. And when you treat everything as if it's glass, you can't afford to drop anything, which means you try to keep everything in the air at all times. And that's a fast track to burnout. So the real work is then identifying which of your balls are glass and which ones just feel like glass because you care about them. So a glass ball is something where if you dropped it, it causes damage that is difficult or impossible to fully undo. These are the balls where the consequences of dropping it are serious, lasting, or irreversible. For me personally, it's my family, always without question. If I drop a ball on being present for my kids, or the relationship that mattered the most for me, that's not something I can fully repair with an apology and just get back on track next week. My kids will grow up and these moments will pass, and relationships erode slowly when you're consistently absent. For me, my family is glass. My health is also glass, though, specifically my nervous system, but also being a type 1 diabetic. Because I've learned, and I've learned it the hard way, that when I push through and ignore what my body and my nervous system are telling me, the recovery costs are more than pushing through was ever going to be worth. You can't fully outdo burnout in just a week. You can't fully outdo what happens to your health when you consistently override your body's signals. So my health and my nervous system are glass balls. Certain financial commitments are glass. If missing a payment means losing your home, that makes it a glass ball. If not following through on client commitments means serious legal or reputational consequences, then I would consider that to be glass. But what I really want you to notice is that most of the things that we treat as glass aren't actually glass. They feel like glass balls because we care about them, because we're committed to them, because we don't want to let people down or look unprofessional or fall behind. But something feeling like glass and something actually being glass are two different things. So a podcast episode schedule? Well, if you miss a week or 4 weeks, your audience doesn't just disappear. They come back. The podcast bounces. It's rubber. Or your social media presence. If you go quiet for a bit, you can always come back. The algorithm might not love you immediately, but the relationships and the community that you built don't shatter. Therefore, it's rubber. Most of your business tasks and content creation, probably rubber. They can be delayed and they're not going to be destroyed. Most launch timelines and projects, probably rubber. They can be rescheduled. They can be pushed back. They can wait. The key question to ask yourself when something feels like glass is, if I drop this, is the damage permanent? Or is it just a little inconvenient, uncomfortable, or embarrassing? Because inconvenient, uncomfortable, or embarrassing, that's rubber. That will bounce, and that's survivable. I want to spend some time now really kind of understanding why we mistake rubber balls for glass balls. Quite often, the first reason is identity. When something is tied to who you are or who you're trying to be, it can feel like glass when it's not. For example, I care deeply about this podcast. It's part of how I show up in the world and how I connect with my audience. So when I couldn't maintain it, it felt fragile. It felt like dropping it meant something to me. But the podcast isn't glass, and my identity isn't glass. I can step back and then come back and continue. Nothing's shattered. The second reason is often other people's expectations of us. We inflate the consequences of dropping things because we're imagining how it looks to others. What will my audience think? What will my clients think? What will other people in my industry think? And honestly, most people are far less focused on what we're doing than what we think they are. They're busy with their own juggle. They notice when you come back more than they notice when you're gone. The third reason is perfectionism. If we've set a standard for ourselves, potentially weekly episodes or daily social media posts or consistent output, dropping that standard feels catastrophic, like we've failed, like we've proven that we can't do it all. But consistency is a long game. Missing a stretch of time or a period of time doesn't erase what you've built. It's a pause. Therefore, it's rubber. The fourth reason, and this one is really specific for mums in business, is guilt. We feel guilty when we drop anything because we're already navigating guilt about so many other things. The guilt of working when we could be with our kids, the guilt of not working harder, the guilt of not doing enough or being enough or showing up enough. So when we drop a ball, it doesn't just feel like, oh, I missed a podcast episode. It feels like another piece of evidence that we can't handle everything. It's another thing to add to the growing list of the ways that we feel like we're falling short. But that's not what dropping a rubber ball means. Dropping a rubber ball is not failure. It's simply prioritization. It's using your wisdom and recognizing that something else needed the energy right now. And you're choosing to honor that instead of white knuckling through everything. And when you see it for what it actually is, a rubber ball that's bouncing temporarily, not a glass ball that's shattering, the guilt loses some of its grip. Let's now get practical about what this looks like in a mum-run business, because this is where you're going to get the most benefit from this theory. In your business, your glass balls are potentially delivering on paid commitments. So if a client has paid you for something and you don't deliver, that's glass. That damages trust, reputation, and potentially has financial or legal consequences. Glass balls are probably your financial foundations. You need to be staying on top of invoicing, paying your own bills, ensuring your business remains financially viable. Not because every money task is glass, but because the foundations of your financial stability matter. Glass balls are likely the key relationships you have. These relationships that are central to your business, such as long-term clients, important collaborators, and people whose trust took years to build, they are glass balls. Not every relationship, but the core ones. And then I'm going to say pretty much everything else in your business is rubber. It may not feel that way, but it is. Your content calendar? Rubber. It can be paused, reworked, temporarily dropped without your business collapsing. Your launch timelines? Rubber. Launches can be moved. They can be pushed or redesigned. A delayed launch is not a failed launch. Your email list? Rubber. Your subscribers are still going to be there when you come back. A gap in communication doesn't destroy an email list that was built on genuine connection. Your community? Rubber. A real community understands that the human behind the business also has seasons. They'll come back. They'll understand. And for me, my podcast, rubber, as I've just demonstrated. You can come back. The audience will still be there. Now, to be really clear, rubber doesn't mean unimportant. I really care about this podcast. I care about my community and my content and my email list. These things matter to me, and they matter to the people I'm trying to serve. But they're rubber because they can be recovered. They bounce. And knowing that means when I have to drop them for a season or a time, I can do it without catastrophic consequences, without treating it as evidence that I've failed or that everything is falling apart. It means I can prioritize what's glass, let that rubber bounce, and trust that when I pick those balls back up, everything is still going to be there. I talk a lot about sustainable business. It's really at the core of everything I do and everything I teach. And I think that there's a tendency to assume that sustainable means consistent, that sustainable means you've got everything so well planned out that you're never going to drop a ball, that everything's perfectly managed all the time. But that's not really what sustainable means at all. Sustainable means that your business can survive the seasons of your life without requiring you to sacrifice what's actually glass. Sustainable means you've built something that can flex when life gets full, that can pause when it needs to, and that can be picked up without having the whole thing collapse around you. Sustainable means your business is structured around what's glass in your life, what's important, right? Not the other way around. And I think the women that I work with and the women who listen to this podcast often have businesses that are more sustainable than they give themselves credit for, because they're still here after the hard seasons, because they come back, because they pick up those rubber balls and they keep going. And that's exactly what a sustainable business looks like in practice. The hustle culture version of business says don't ever drop any balls. Always be on, never slow down, never let anything slide. And I call that out completely, because the cost of never dropping anything is that you drop the things that actually matter. You'll drop your health, you'll drop your presence with your family, you'll drop your nervous system regulation, you'll drop the glass balls while desperately trying to keep all the rubber ones in the air. And that's not sustainable. I'd like to call that well-disguised burnout. Real sustainability looks like knowing what's glass and protecting it so fiercely. and knowing what's rubber and giving yourself permission to let it bounce when it needs to. That's the type of business I'm building. That's the life I'm aiming to build. And I hope that's what you're building too. Before we close out today, I want to give you something really practical, because knowing the theory is one thing, right? But applying it to your actual life is where the real shifts start to happen. So here's how you can start to identify your glass and rubber balls. First, write down everything you're currently juggling. Everything that's taking up your time and energy, your kids, your partner, your health, your clients, your business tasks, your content, your community, your commitments, your personal life, all of it, everything. Put it down on paper. Then, for each thing, ask yourself just one question. If I drop this, would the damage be permanent or recoverable? Permanent or very difficult to recover from? It's glass. Recoverable, even if uncomfortable or inconvenient? It's rubber. I want you to be honest with yourself here. Not overly harsh, but honest. Because our tendency is to inflate things to a glass status because we care about them, or we're afraid of the discomfort of dropping them. The care doesn't equal a glass ball. Discomfort doesn't make something glass. And guilt does not equal glass. Once you have your list, notice what is actually glass. For most of us, it's going to be a shorter list than we expect. Family, health, core financial foundations, key paid commitments. And then I want you to look at everything that's rubber. That's your flexibility. That's your capacity buffer. Those are the things that you can let slide temporarily when life gets full, without it meaning that everything is falling apart. And then I want you to keep this list somewhere you can find it. Because when that next full season comes, and it will come, you'll want to be able to make decisions quickly about what you're protecting and what you're temporarily letting bounce. And when you drop a rubber ball, and you will, you can do it with full intention instead of guilt. You can let it bounce knowing you'll pick it back up again, just like I'm doing right now. It is so good to be back. It really is. And I'm glad that this is the episode that I have decided to come back with, because honestly, it feels like the most honest thing that I could share with you right now. So if this resonated, send me a DM at balancedbizmama and tell me what is glass and what is rubber in your life right now. And on a quick note about the Balanced Biz Mama Circle, it's currently on pause for exactly the reasons I've talked about today: priorities, capacity, and choosing what's glass. But if you want to be the first to know when it reopens, you can jump on the waitlist and I'll reach out to you when the doors open again. But in the meantime, if you want to work with me directly, one-on-one support is still available. Send me a DM and let's talk about what that could look like for you. And remember, Mama, knowing what's glass and what's rubber is a strategy in itself. It's how you build something that lasts without burning yourself down in the process. So protect your glass and let the rubber bounce. And trust that it will be there for you to pick it back up when you need to. And until next time, you've got this. Thanks for joining me on Coffee, Clients and Nap Time. If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another mum who's ready to build their dream life. You can also join our Facebook page or Instagram to stay connected every day of the week. The link is in the show notes. Just remember, you've got this, and I'm here to help every step of the way.